What is up, everybody? Welcome back to 9 to 5 Gamers, and you already know what day it is. It is Top 10 Tuesday. That means every single Tuesday we're doing a Top 10. So if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe in the comments section. Tell me, what are your favorite worker placement games? Because that's what I'm going to talk about today, my Top 10 worker placement. And as always, check out our memberships. They're as low as $3 a month, and you can get some really cool perks as soon as they remonetize my channel. We'll be getting some of those things going again because memberships are turned off currently. But again, that was just a mistake. But anyways, let's get into this top 10. So starting with my number 10, and also I have I've been learning Wayfarers of the South Tigris, so I just learned how to play the game, and I have it set up on my table. So I'm not going to pull the games off my shelf and stuff like that. I'm just going to show a picture up here on this side. Without further ado, let's get into my number 10. Number 10 is a game called 10 Penny Parks. 10 Penny Parks is such an interesting game. If you've never seen it, it is a worker placement game, but it's also a polyomino game. So I think it's really cool because worker placement is a very good mechanic for games, but I like when they mix that with something. And so 10 Penny Parks is worker placement where you are able to place, I think you have like maybe 2 workers, and then you're able to get a third if you are first place in a certain track at the very bottom of the game board. But it's really cool because you can place your workers to gain money, to build parks and different things like that. And it's a really interesting worker placement. So you're basically buying little pieces, like little amusement park rides, and you put those polyominoes onto your little map board, and then you can buy new ones. Feels a little bit like a barren park mixed with a worker placement element, which I think is really fun. If you've never tried 10 Penny Parks, it is a very good game. It is also very kind of pricey. Sometimes the price of that game can be a little up there. I will tell you, you get what you pay for in that game for sure when it comes to components, because the component quality of that game is insane. I've always thought Thunderworks Games does a really good job with the component quality of a lot of their games. But that one in specifically, and it's got the Vincent Dutrait artwork, so of course you know it's on my list. But not just because of the artwork, but it's just a very, very good game. Great artwork, great components, chunkiest pieces you've ever seen. Very good. You guys need to get a try on 10 Penny Parks. My number 9 on my list is a game called Honey Buzz. This is a game I actually don't own, but I really wish that I did. My friend David has it, and he's always talking about it, and I finally got to go to his house, and I finally got to play Honey Buzz, and man, he made me a believer. I promise I won't make jokes like that. I honestly want to take this back. I'll probably edit it out, but probably not. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in that game. It is a great game. You have all these little bee workers that you get to place and do little worker placement things, but then you can actually get like a ton of like bee workers, and it's just really, really fun. And then there's like certain mechanics where if I remember correctly, there's a mechanic where it's like if somebody already has a bee there, you can place a bee there on that worker spot, but you got to place a couple of them. You got to place like 2 bees or more than the other person has. And so if the other person puts 2 more and they have 3, you got to place 4 bees to take the worker placement spot action, which is really, really cool. I like the mechanics that they have in that. I like that because that's a very unique way to do the worker placement, because a lot of times in worker placement what they have is they have the mechanic of, well, I'm here so you can't take this action, and it's blocking, and that's a good part of the strategy. So I like worker placement like that, but I like when they try to differentiate those things, like with Viticulture with the Grande worker, and also with a game called Holotype, which I have not played, but I've seen the mechanic of it, where there's 3 different levels of meeples, and they get bigger. Each meeple gets bigger than the last, and then the bigger meeple, if somebody places a worker in a specific spot, you can take that same action, but you have to place a worker that's bigger in size. And I was like, that's a cool mechanic. See, I like when they make worker placement interesting like that. And so basically, I don't know, I liked Honey Buzz, man. It was so cool, and you've got this little polyomino thing there. You're building this little beehive, and then it fires off these things when you get certain pollen, and then you sell the pollen, you get points, and it's a really good game. If you've never played Honey Buzz, you got to try to play a game of that. So that's my number 9. My number 8 is a game called Orleans, which is an interesting worker placement, and some people might even debate me in the comments, and that's okay. If you want to say no, put it in the comments section, that's fine. But to me, it just felt like a worker placement. So you have, but it's not like worker placement in the sense where there's like one spot, big map, and then you're worker placing on that thing. Everybody has their own little little board that has a bunch of different spots that gain you certain things. And so what you can do is you pull out workers based on how many workers you've built up to. You pull those out of a bag. It's a bag builder. And you pull your workers out of a bag, and then you lay the workers in the spots on your little board, and you take those actions and fire them all off one after another as you all take turns. But then everything is kind of simultaneously when you're placing your workers, and it's just such a cool way to implement the worker placement and the idea of drawing random workers out of the bag. And depending how you build your bag depends what kind of workers you could place there. There's workers that are yellow that fit in any spot, which they're like wild workers, and you can put them anywhere. I really love Orleans, man. Like, I thought it was such a dry-looking game, but it ended up being very, very good. So you got to try Orleans. I love that game. Orleans, my number 8. Number 7 is Caverna, and I will also tie in Agricola. So Agricola and Caverna are amazing worker placements by Uwe Rosenberg, where you start off with 2 workers, and then those workers are basically like little farmers that can have children, and then you can gain more workers by having children, and then your children turn into workers, which is such a cool mechanic. I love that. But not only that, it is just farming, and you have this little map where you're doing the farming stuff, and it's just really, really cool. I love Caverna because it not only can you do the farming, but then you can do the cave mining, and you can go into the cave and mine, and you can send your workers and make your workers become like warriors and Vikings, and then you can send them out. And so it's really cool. You can send them out to pillage and do different things, and they come back with loot and different stuff. It's a fun game, man. Like, I really love Caverna. I really like a Caverna a little more than I do Agricola. Agricola is cool because it's got the different cards and the different like jobs that you can get, but I really love these 2 games. They are amazing worker placement games, and I think that anybody who's into board gaming has to at least try those 2 games. Maybe they won't become any of your favorite games, but they're definitely games that are worth trying. Once you get them to the table, I guarantee you will definitely have a great experience with them. Some people may not enjoy them, but because they're a little bit older, but I still think mechanically they are just great, smooth games. And that is my number 7. My number 6 is a worker placement game that is super, super crunchy and complex, and it's a game called Paladins of the West Kingdom. In Paladins of the West Kingdom, you start off with a couple of workers. You place those workers onto, kind of like in Orleans, where you got this little board where you can do your worker placement actions, but those actions will get you more workers, and then those workers, depending what colors they are, you can place in certain areas on your board to take other actions, and you start to unlock different things. It is such a cool game, but it is very heavy. That is a very complex and heavy game. It plays really well solo, so if you want to play it solo, play it. If you are looking for a gauge of how difficult it may be, I hear Wayfarers of the South Tigris is around the same difficulty and complexity, which Wayfarers of the South Tigris is looking like it's going to be a kind of a cool worker placement, but it also looks like it's got some other elements in it, but I have not played it yet, but I'm pretty sure this one will make it up into my top 10, I'm assuming. But Paladins of the West Kingdom is amazing, and if you, I would honestly just recommend anything in West Kingdom, South Tigris. There's also the South Tigris series. There's also the North Sea. Is it Raiders of the North Sea? Or is that something else? I forget. But that one was such a cool... That one I recommend as well because it's got this really cool mechanic where every turn you have to worker place and worker retrieve. So when you place your worker, you get that action, but then you also have to retrieve your worker from the other worker from the other space that it's on, and you take that action as well. It's such a cool mechanic of placing, but also retrieving and putting to another new area and then retrieving your last one. It was such a cool concept. That is a really great game. Raiders, I think it's Raiders of the North Sea, but that's a great series as well. I really think that everybody needs to try that game. That game's great. Any of these games will do you good. So check out any of the West Kingdom or North Sea series or Wayfarers, South Tigris. That's my number 6. My number 5 is Viticulture Essential Edition with the Tuscany expansion. There's not many games that I recommend you having the expansions for. Like, I think expansions are great. They only add to the experience. This one I feel like is essential. Like, I feel like you, in order to have a really good time with Viticulture, you need to play it with Tuscany. Tuscany adds an extra season to the game. It adds other spots and worker placement spots, but that's all that Viticulture is. It's a worker placement game where you make wine, but it is so good. The component quality of the game is just perfect because it's Stonemaier, so you know they do such a great job with everything that they put out there. You're always going to get a high quality game when you get a Stonemaier game, but Viticulture is just my number 5 of all time because I really enjoyed the whole process. And then you've got these, you've got to get grapes, and then you build your own little vineyards, and then those vineyards take in grapes. Those grapes go put into your cellar where they begin to age. You turn them into wines. You can mix the red and the white together and make pink to the different colored wines and stuff like that. You can make sparkling wines and different stuff. It's just such a really cool concept for a game. I really enjoyed it. And me and my wife, what we like to do is we like to get like a charcuterie board and just get like some like apple cider or something, and we'll just sit there and drink some grape juice and play Viticulture and eat our charcuterie board. It's just such a fun experience, and it's so chill. But at the same time, it can be not really mean, but like you can take each other's spots, and once you take a spot and you've used that grande worker, which you can place like anywhere, once you've already placed it though, it's kind of, that's where it starts to go, dang, you took my spot, man. I really needed to make some wine this turn, and now I'm not going to be able to, and that's going to set me back. So, but it's super fun. I really like Viticulture. Playing it at 2 players is a very good experience. Highly recommend that. And the solo mode is great as well. So if you're into solo gaming, which I know a lot of people are, Viticulture's great for solo. My number 4 game of all time, as far as worker placement goes, is Arak. Lost Ruins of Arak is so good. Like, it's such a clean experience where you are going on these expeditions, and when you go out there, you're worker placing, but in order to worker place, there's a deck building element where in order to move my worker, I need to play a card that has the symbol for where I'm moving them to. And so you can move your workers out, and you move them to certain spots to get certain currencies, and there's these little tablets and the gemstones and the arrowheads, and it's just so cool. That like the component quality of this game is crazy. You would think you would have gotten the bonus, like the deluxe edition, but no, every game comes with it. Lost Ruins of Arak literally like is just one of the greatest worker placement games, slash deck builder, because that's what it is. It's worker placement and deck building, but it is so much fun, man. Going on these expeditions and then also doing research, and you've got this research track where you can put this little book to do research, and then you have the little magnifying glass that moves up as well, and so you're trying to move these 2 things up this track till you get to the end. So much fun. And then there's these bosses that you can fight, and if you have enough of the right cards, you can win the combat against it, and then you can get these different points. You get points for beating them. It's really good, man. Like, if you've never played Arak, I don't know where you've been. Get that game immediately. It's super good, or at least play it somewhere. Find a person who has a copy and just get a play of it. But that game is phenomenal, and it deserves the hype. And they've got new expansions for it, and the second expansion just came out for it. The first one was like a leaders expansion. The second one is the new expansion that comes with 2, I believe it has 2 new leaders, and I think it even has like a campaign or something like that where you can play through. So, and the solo mode for that I've heard is very good. I haven't played the solo mode myself. But that's my number 4. My number 3 caught me by surprise. I'm just going to be honest with you. This whole thing, it was just honestly, let me just explain what happened. I went to a gaming event run by Board Game Caravan, and he had a copy of Stardew Valley, and I saw some people playing it at his event, and I said, oh my gosh, whoa, you scared, I didn't even know you were there, and you just yelled and wooed, and it scared me. Like, I literally like got chills. Where are you? In the room? Yeah. You sound like you're in the living room.
My head is peeking out.
Oh, okay. Anyways, That was my wife wooing because she loves the Stardew Valley game. She gave it a 9 out of 10. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's great, but I think I would almost go up to a 9 now that I've played the video game because the video game is so similar. So if you've ever played Stardew Valley, the video game, the board game is just such a cool experience because it really does enact what you play in that video game. But I didn't play Stardew Valley, the video game, before I played the board game, and it is such a cool worker placement thing. So it's like you have like a planning phase. Like you could teach the game literally in 5 seconds. There's like this big board and it has all these worker placement spots, and then the rules are you guys have a planning phase where you guys can trade items and talk about what you're going to do. You have some grandpa's goals that you're trying to win, and you've got to restore the community center, which are some goals you can also get. The way you do that is by placing your worker on these different spots to do different actions. You can start on a spot during your turn. You start on a spot, and you can take that action twice, or you can take that action once, move one space, and then take an action at another place in an adjacent location. That's it. That's all you need to know about how to play that game. And then everything else is easy. It's just dice rolling and just that's it. It's just having materials. You gather materials. You can use those materials to make friends with them, or you can turn them into bins to collect the different bundles and sell them for profit. Like, it's just a really fun worker placement. It's cooperative, and it is super, super good. Luckily, Daniel let me borrow it. I got to give the game back to him, but I'm having way too much fun with it. So I think me and my wife have played it literally like 4 times by now, maybe 5. I don't even know, but we've played this game a ton since we got it, and we haven't even had it that long because this event was literally this month, and he let me borrow it. But yeah, man, Stardew Valley is my number 3 worker placement of all time. I would have never thought that was the case, but it is just really, really good. And so I'm super excited that I got a chance to play it. Hopefully I'll get to own it. I already talked to the people who created the game, and they said that they were going to be printing out new copies of it. When? They haven't said yet. So we're hoping for Q4 at this point, I believe. But that's it for my number 3. My number 2, Dwellings of Eldervale. I don't need to say much about this game because this game is great. Only issue with this game is getting your hands on a copy. Just found out my copy. I've been complaining about this for so long because we pre-ordered it. They delayed it. Then they said it's going to come out next month. Then they delayed it again. Then they delayed it again. And the game that I was supposed to receive maybe like a month ago is I'm going to be receiving it probably in September. That's what they're saying as far as the estimates go. But anyways, if you can get your hands on a copy of Dwellings of Eldervale, you can pre-order a copy from their website. They have a website where you can actually pre-order the game, and you can get the 4th printing of it. This game is super, super good. Got to play it at Dice Tower East, and man, I love that game. Now, I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to love it, because I thought it was going to be like a 10 out of 10 the way people usually are talking about it. But it was good. It was a solid, like for me, like a solid 8 out of 10, because some of the mechanics were a little weird because they got these boss figures that are just on the map, and then you have these gigantic bosses on these light up, way overproduced miniature bases that make sound when you lift them up and place them, and it's just interesting. But anyways, yeah, so those guys just sit on the map, and all they do is just kind of block an area, and I thought these things were like you were going to defeat them and get these crazy rewards, and really I felt like the rewards were kind of, at least with the ones that I played with, the rewards were kind of lackluster for fighting them, and it took a lot of like combat to beat them. And then the other thing is that combat was kind of weird because it's like you roll all the, like you choose how many dice you're going to roll based on how many like sword symbols or something. I forget, but it was like you roll, like if I'm rolling 3 dice and my opponent's rolling 2, I roll all 3 of my dice, but it's only like the highest number that counts. So then I hope we played that right, because if we didn't play that right, then I take everything that I'm saying back. But whoever had the highest dice roll wins. And then it's like if you both got a 5, then you go to the next highest number, which I had a 4, and then they had a 3. It's like, okay, well, or they had a 4 and I had a 3, and it's like, okay, well, they win. It was just kind of weird. I thought the combat was a little funky because I felt like it was like I could roll 6 dice, miss completely, and this guy rolls 1 dice, gets a 6, and he automatically wins. So it was weird. Yeah, there was some interesting things about the game that I was like, I didn't know how I felt about it. But apart from all of that, these are just like my woes with the game. And all that aside, though, that game's crazy good, man. The factions, the different workers that you have, and then you've got these you got a dragon worker, you got like a warlock, you've got a warrior, and like you can buy these workers, you can add more workers, and then your workers turn into little houses. It's so cool. Like there's little hats that turn your workers into houses, your dwellings, which are how you get a lot of your points. But then, like, when they turn into dwellings, they stay on the map, so now you don't have as many workers to take as many actions. Oh, I love that. That was so good, and I really enjoyed that mechanic. But it is such a great worker placement game, and I really like that game. The deluxeified copy was insanely cool. But again, those monsters were pretty cool. But I think there's, like, certain monsters where if you have the right item, you can actually, like, keep them and use them as, like, workers or something. I don't remember, but it was pretty cool. But I love Dwellings of Eldervale. That was actually that is my second favorite worker placement of all time. But nothing's beating my number one, which is Dune Imperium. Dune Imperium is the premier worker placement deck building game. I could see people having Arak higher than Dune. I could totally see that. But man, Dune Imperium is just so good. I don't even have the expansions, and I just cannot stop wanting to play that game with people. Like, I want to introduce that to as many people as possible. The only thing that I don't like about Dune Imperium is the simulated workers or the simulated players. Like, I don't like games that it's like, I'm going to play solo. Okay, cool. Well, now you're going to play a 3-player game with 2 AIs that you have to flip cards for, and there's an app that helps you do all of that, but it's just kind of like, man, I wish there was like a better solo mode for Dune Imperium. But the worker placement on that is so fun. The fact that it's this competitive game where you're going head to head, trying to get the first player to get 10 points as the winner, but man, it is so difficult to win, man, and to get up those tracks, and the combat, the war, where you can put your like warriors into battle, and whoever has the most sometimes will win victory points that way, and you could steal points from people by gaining more faction reputation with a certain faction. And man, there's a lot to this game, but it's so much fun. It's a lot like Arak in the sense where your deck is full of cards, and those cards have symbols that match up with symbols on the board, and those are the worker placement spots you can go to. So at the beginning of the game, you start off with only a few spots that you can go to, but as the game progresses and you start buying new cards to put into your deck, you're able to build a nice deck of cards that will get you some nicer worker placement spots, and you can really pick a certain strategy and go for that and go all in. You got like 2 workers to start. You can buy a 3rd. You can even get a 4th if you get the Mentat. I love this game, man. It's so good. I could sit here for literally hours just talking about Dune Imperium, but I think that most people will agree that it is a definite top 10 worker placement game of all time. Like, I think that definitively it is one of the better worker placement games that exists. And but hey, man, that I guess that can be subjective. It's up to you guys. What do you guys say? What do you guys think? What are your favorite worker placement games? Throw in the comment section. Throw some worker placement games that were not on my list. Games that you think I might enjoy, because I would love to get my hands on some more worker placement games. But for now, that's going to do it for my top 10. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you on the flippity flip. Peace out. Love you guys. Deuces. Right there. This is the spot, boy.
This is the story.
How my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the flesh. Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the Fresh Prince of a town called Bel Air.
Not Fresh Prince.
Tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. Now, sit right. Wait, what does he say? I don't remember. All right, that was the cold intro. Hey, welcome to 9 to 5 Gamers. All right, let's do this again. Love you.